Hello, beautiful people. Welcome. My name is Judy, and we're going to be learning a little bit about extensions today. Let's start off by opening the package. So today I'm going to be working with Great Lengths. I love Great Lengths. I've been working with Great Lengths over 10 years. It's one of my favorite companies. People out there that do extensions know that Great Lengths bonds are amazing, but the packaging is a little tough. It took me a while, believe it or not, to learn how to open it. The best way is going to the root of it where there is no hair and the bond's there, not the end. The way they showed me, I believe, was the end, and I felt like I was cutting a little bit of the hair off, and you don't want to lose the hair. So we're gonna start off by snipping just the very top. You notice I poked a hole and then I find it and then I just ripped the tape. Just because you don't want to lose any of this beautiful hair. The package you could get rid of. There's nothing to save about it. So now Great Lengths is now coming out with their thicker bond. It's in a row. My assistant here, Abreu, is going to be helping me. She's going to be pre-cutting. It's very important that you have help. People that do this on their own, it's gonna not just take longer, it's just not gonna be a neater work. I just feel like when you have an apprentice helping you back to back, it's just so much better. It's consistent, the hair is neater, you don't have the client handing you hair. It's just, if you can get somebody to help you, it would be the best. So what we did, we're gonna cut these in a point. So I'm just taking off the access glue that it comes with. Now the access glue is great to save. I don't rebond extensions, but I have apprentices here that do. So let's say Jen comes in like a couple of weeks or in a couple of months and says, listen, like 10 of them fell off, can you rebond them? Before we didn't have this glue, so now we could actually use it for purpose, and we could actually rebond whatever fell out of her hair and place it back on. You know, you could price different on that. We price anywhere from $3 to $5 per strand for that. Once you take off that access glue, I'm just going to show you how the strands come. Now this is a 16-inch strand, and what I love about Great Lengths, it's literally thick from root to end. A lot of extensions and a lot of companies you're going to notice are thinner at the root, expand at the ends, or they start off really thick at the root and then they get really stringy and thin at the ends. That's why Great Lengths has been around for many years and they've been successful. We're going to peek it out, like I said before. Why do we do that? Now Jen has pretty fine hair.
Hi,
now Jen. We don't. Hi Jen, say hi.
Hello.
Now she doesn't want any breakage. She's been a client of mine for many years. I want to say about 7 years on and off with extensions. And she wants to maintain what she has. Obviously, when people get extensions, it's for a reason, right? They're probably not starting off with as much hair, or it's not as long as they want. So you don't want that client to feel my hair is getting weaker, it's getting finer, I'm gonna stop doing this. This is gonna be a long-term investment, so you have to take it serious. You just want your clients to, you know, not only feel great, but the integrity of the hair be great all the time. So that's why I'm cutting all that excess glue out, and that's why we're just left with a little bit. Why? Because we don't wanna put that much weight, and you'll see what I mean when we get hands-on. So I'm gonna hand this over to my apprentice. I'm gonna leave it right here for you. So another important factor when we're doing extensions is clips, believe it or not. Clips are very important. I like these duckbill clips. You could get them at any beauty supply. They're weightless, they don't weigh down the hair. You want natural parting on extensions, so what that means is you don't want to force anything that's not there. So if her hair is growing a little bit with a cowlick to the left, I want to part it that way, and I don't want to force it to go the other way, because when it starts growing out, it's just going to get bubbly, it's going to get matted, and that's when you know, come into a lot of breakage. So let's make the part a little neater, as you can see. Now, Jen has one color hair because she has virgin hair, and this is her natural color. I have clients that highlighted their hair years ago and then they went dark, or vice versa, or even clients that want to experiment and want a little highlight without bleaching the hair. That's when you have fun with extensions and you start ordering different colors for them. Today we're going to be working with a solid color, which is a number 2, which is a brown. So when you section off the extension, well, the hair to put the extension on, you want to make sure that you grab the same amount that's on the extension. And what that means is, let me just bring out an extension before. So you see how much hair is here? You don't want to bring any less than what's here or any more. And the disc is gonna really help you out with that. So I'm gonna part it. I like square parts. There's some people that like a V. I like a square. The duck bills really help me out get a nice, neat part. Now, as you can see, a lot of clients have a lot of flyaways. That's totally normal. You're gonna see a little gap. Now, I was telling Jen before, this is my favorite disc. I've been working with many discs, and I found that the Great Lengths one's thin enough but thick enough, and it just sections off the hair really nice. You know, a lot of companies bring their own disc. I just prefer Great Lengths one. So as you can see, I placed my duck clip right on the top. You could use that line as a guide. And as you can see, I'm like kind of caressing the hair down. Now, I don't have any lotion in my hair, on my hands obviously, or in her hair I don't have any conditioner. You don't want to have an oily hand and rub your hands on the hair. Why? You know, you don't want the extension to slide off. You don't want anything that the bond is going to grab before the hair. So let's say she came in and she had a lot of leave-in conditioner and I put extensions. The bond is most likely going to grab into the leave-in or whatever is on the hair as opposed to her actual hair, and it's going to slide off. And you don't want that. They're paying a lot of money for it. You want to make sure the hair is nice and clean, your hands are nice and clean. So I'm going to place, so remember, Amaryllis has been cutting it into the point, which is great because it's just going to fit right into the gap. I'm going to place her actual hair right on top. Slide it down a little bit. The reason I slide it down is flexibility. You don't want somebody to leave out of here with really tight extensions and not be able to move their hair, meaning like they can't put it in a ponytail, they can't curl it because it's just sticking straight up because it's just super tight and it's not good for the hair. So I'm gonna grab my tool. Now I don't count, it really goes upon the hair, like her hair melted really quickly. I've had clients that I have to press in numerous of times before I get a budge or a melt in there. It really depends on the hair and how quick it melts. As soon as you see that glue melt, or that bond, I should say the keratin bond melt, you should start rolling. Now I always remove my disc and I always go back and seal it. That's just my way of making sure there's no air bubbles in there, no water flow could go in there, and it could really just be sealed in there for when they wash your hair, condition the hair, nothing could get in there. So as you can see, it's nicely placed, nice and neat. That disc really helped me not get any excess hair on the extension. Let's talk a little bit about my tool while I'm working. Now, I love Great Lengths hair, I love Great Lengths discs, but I don't like their machine as much as the Hair Dreams machine. I love the Hair Dreams machine. I feel like the Hair Dreams machine is just quicker. I have the Cold Fusion from Great Lengths. I have their new machine that came out. I just feel that it doesn't melt the hair as quick and evenly. But it's a great machine. I don't want to talk about them too much, but I just want to talk about the Hair Dream machine. I love it. I really feel that it makes my job work easier. You see the tongues, they're just nice and like thin. They fit right into the square. They're not too big, not too small. They get really hot. You can control your temperature. Because I am a pretty quick worker, normally some people will take about an hour and a half per bundle. I'll take about 30 minutes to 45 minutes per bundle. I can control my heat. So if it's somebody with super fine blonde hair, I'm obviously gonna have it on a lower setting. Somebody like Jen has virgin hair. She's just a little thin, but it's kind of long. I'm gonna have it on a higher setting. Now, the way I puzzle the hair, I'm doing every other. I don't like to personally do back to back unless somebody's coming in with, 6 to 8 bundles. I'll have to do like your aunt, somebody like that. I'll have to do it back to back, meaning there is no space, there is no hair in between here. I like to leave a space if I have the opportunity to do it. Why? Because as the hair grows, these are gonna grow down eventually. Like 3-4 months from now, they're gonna be down here. They're gonna start tangling, marrying. So when they have that space, they kind of have that freedom not to tangle, not to get married, and it's lower maintenance on the client, and it's just safer on the hair. Not to say that the other way isn't, it's just a little bit more like you have to be more cautious. So you have to brush more times a day, and you have to take care of it. Now let's talk about the maintenance while I'm working as well. So the first thing I tell people is you have to get a brush. That's just rule number one. You have to get a good brush. Great Lengths has an amazing brush. It's a bristle-based brush, meaning that you could brush the hair from the roots down. Because if you don't brush extensions, they're gonna get matted and they're gonna get tangled, and you don't want that. Why? Because before you know, you're losing hair. You have to use a good shampoo and conditioner. If you're using a volumizing shampoo, I don't recommend it because it comes with a lot of sulfates sometimes and it could deteriorate the bond. I have never seen it on a Great Lengths bond because their bond is so strong that you rarely get that, but you don't want to use it just to prevent it. Conditioner. People are so against conditioner on the root. If I was to do extensions on my hair and I'm doing something like Great Lengths, I'm gonna put conditioner everywhere just because my hair is super thick and super dry. Jen doesn't necessarily need conditioner on her roots, so she's probably gonna stay away with it, but she definitely needs it on her ends where the extensions are, you know? So it's just preference. If the extensions are done well, you can put conditioner. With like tape extensions, that's when I'm like a little pickier and I'll tell my clients, please do not use any conditioner on the root of the hair because you just don't want to risk that, you know, that softness getting into the tape and just sliding out. Sleeping with your hair up is important too. I prefer a braid. Not everybody's gonna do a braid every night. A low ponytail will work. That's really, you know, that's really just to prevent any matting, any knotting. Because when we do sleep, we do get, like, as women, as we know, with long hair, we get knotty. So you want to prevent any of that. You also want to make sure you don't sleep with your hair wet. Think of it as a sponge. After a while, it's going to be sponging a lot of water, dampness. It's going to get like a spongy, and then it's just going to eventually slide out. And you just spend all that money. For what? For it to slide out. So people, the number one question is like, well, I'm going on vacation. What do I do when I go on the beach? It's annoying, but we recommend you don't stay in the water more than 8 hours, which I don't know anybody that would stay in the water more than 8 hours, but I'm told to say that from the company. But I also recommend is if you have super fine hair and the sun's gonna dry your hair, you're fine. You could just go lay on the beach and get some sun and it'll dry eventually. If your hair is super thick and you have all these extensions and you know your hair retains a lot of water, guess what? You're gonna have to go into the hotel room, rinse it out with regular sink water and then shower water and then air dry your hair. It doesn't need to be blown out. It doesn't matter the ends. We're just concerned about the bond. And obviously the bond is the root of your hair. You don't want any of that to sit in that and sponge up and slide out. So, as you see, I'm continuing my puzzle same way. My rolls are nice and tight. I've seen some extensions come in here and it's just a massive amount of glue on the hair and it's uncomfortable too, you know. You don't want to walk around with this bulky, bumpy hair. You want to be able to pat your hair and it'll be semi-flat onto the scalp. I always tell my clients that, you know, Great Lengths last anywhere from 3 to 5 months. I've had clients that leave them on for 6 months. I don't personally recommend that because after a while you can get the hair caught in a brush. It could pull a little bit. You know, the hair is lower, the extension hair is lower. But let me tell you, they will stay on until you keep them. So it can stay up to 6 to 7 months. But I tell most of my clients they'll change them after 3 to 5 months. Consultation is key when you're talking to your client. Like somebody like Jen, she's mainly concerned about having like that thickness. So we didn't worry so much about the length, even though we're gonna get length. But her thing was, you know, I want it nice and full. So if somebody comes in here and like, I want it really thick and full and long, 2 bundles like we're doing today is not gonna cut it because you're gonna get that length, but you're not gonna get that massively thick hair. So you wanna be clear with the clients on what they're looking for and what you recommend as a professional. You know, if you feel like your client only needs this amount, you tell them. If you feel like they need more, you tell them their honest opinion. And it is a luxury, so you wanna make sure that they're okay with what they pick, but you want to have different options for them. Like I have different companies I use. Not every client gets a great length. I have Hair Dreams, I have European hair. So it really depends on their budget and what they're looking for, and we work from there. I feel like the hardest people to come across is somebody that got a haircut and they got like a really short haircut and they hate it and they're devastated and then they want extensions. Because it's like, okay, I'm not gonna, depending on how short and how thick it is, I can't put extensions in there because I don't want my work to look bad. So you wanna be honest with the client. I wouldn't do anybody shorter than a bob, to be honest, unless they're doing maybe different methods like a fall, like a halo, or like tapes where it's gonna cover more of the hair. But something like a great length, I need at least a shoulder length. Unless you're doing it for fillings and stuff like that. So I'm continuing my pattern. Now I always leave out an inch away from the hairline. What that means is I'm not gonna go too close to her neck hair or her forehead or her ears. Why? Because let's say she wants to wear a ponytail every day for work, and then she slicks it back and she sees there's no hair to cover the extensions. So I'm depending on this 1 inch hair. When she wears it back, you don't see anything, and you wouldn't see anything underneath. So we're done with our first row. How are you feeling, Jen?
I'm good.
You're good? You're happy? You're excited, right?
Excited, yeah.
All right, awesome. As I'm working, I like to comb out my sections. I feel like if you leave it to the end, you're hurting the client. It gets sensitive, the scalp. You know, you are rolling, so some people are sensitive and it could be irritating. So you don't want to like wait until the very end and start combing out all these little baby knots that she may be getting because of all the placement. You just want to get it out of the way and comb it. How do I determine my next section? Obviously the shape of the head and also how many bundles I have. So I know I already used about half a bundle and I have a bundle and a half. So I always visualize myself. So because she's only working with 2, so I'm gonna work with 1 bundle in the front and then the other one in the back. Does that make sense to everybody? Because I want that fullness just in the front as in the back. If she was a person that didn't have like a lot of hair to cover in the front, I would do half a bundle in the front and the 1.5 in the back. Some people do a horseshoe shape. It depends. If she's working with a lot of bundles, I would do that. But because we're only working with 2, I'm just gonna go straight across, nice, neat sections. Jen's like a really good candidate for extension, somebody with like a thicker root and thinner end, because you don't have to worry about any line being covered. We're really focusing here on like placing them comfortably and also for the fullness of her hair. There's other clients that I need to really focus on my puzzling and say, okay, there's a hard line here, I can see her hair. So let me grab a little bit more of her real hair down and then put the extensions on top so it would cover her real hair. So depending on the client that you have in front of you will depend on the puzzling that you're doing. Same thing, grabbing your nice neat squares. So remember the gaps that I left in between on the last section? So I'm gonna try to fill those gaps in. So now I'm gonna do the same type of method but opposite. So wherever I didn't put an extension on the bottom, I'm gonna put it on the top. So we'll fill in that gap, which it would complete a nice puzzle on the hair. Meaning she flings her hair around, she's not gonna have any gaps or holes. Now the thing with rolling, a lot of hairdressers, we tend to roll downward. And that's just nature and not natural to do that. Try to roll upward. I know it feels weird, meaning don't slide the glue down and roll down, because it's just going to be a really long like strand of glue, and it's just not gonna be pleasing to the hair. It's just too much weight on the hair. So try to roll up. I have extension scissors. These are not expensive. They're probably like 80 bucks. They're no brand, but it's just good to have these type of scissors. I don't use them to cut hair, but I'll use them to cut the glue. I'll use them if there's any hooks or any nicks. I'll use them to like clean off my sections. You don't want to use your actual scissors that you use to cut hair to dull them with plastic. So if you're going to cut bond or anything like that, try to get like a different scissor so then you don't use your real cutting shears. Now I know other hairdressers also, we tend to get crappy scissors to cut the extensions. I feel like that's a big no-no. Like personally, like it's really expensive hair. Why would you want to use crappy scissors? So I would still use my luxury scissors on extension hair to cut them. Because I think the cut is one of the most important parts when people get extensions. You want to make sure that it looks nice and natural and not choppy or separated from the real hair.
How many years have you been doing this, Judy?
Extension wise, I've been doing it about 7 to 10 years. I've always just had a passion for it. I was telling Jen before coming here, either like you want to do it or you don't. You know, it's just one of those things, you have the patience to do it or you don't. So I definitely love doing extensions. Some of my clients I've been doing since prom. I put clip-ons for prom, and then before you know it, they love their clip-ons, and then they became like addicted and they want it. Most of my clientele are not your typical like porn star, I don't know, like really blonde. Like it's more like a person that doesn't really want to tell people they have extensions, just wants to like blend in with society, and that's the clientele I tend to aim for, because I feel like those people are more loyal and they'll just always be consistent and come to you, as opposed to somebody that just wants to look hot for the weekend and then leave. I'm not saying that the other people won't, but it's just the type of client that I attract and the type of girls that I attract from doing their extensions. Most of them are just people that are looking just to like fill in or get that little bit of length, because it is an expensive service. So a lot of people that are young can't afford this every 3 to 4 months, as opposed to somebody that really needs it. They'll like, you know, budget out something else out of their budget, I'm sure, and make this a priority. So the hair, that's why you always need an apprentice. The hair it's like spidery hair. You need to like be able to peel it like a banana. Like I tell people, like do not try to pull it out of the bundle. It will get matted, it will get tangly. So as you see, Amaryllis is not like just sitting back and like hanging out. She's like has to be on her tippy toes with this hair, because it will get attached to everything. It'll start flying everywhere. And hair is expensive, so we don't want it on the floor getting swept up. You want to make sure you're always on top of the hair. So if you notice, I just shimmied it, like meaning like I'll go up and down to make sure I'm getting that same amount of heat all over from root to end. And I'll keep rolling until I feel like it's perfect. Then like I said before, I'll go back sometimes and I'll just seal that root, make sure there's no air bubbles, there's no gap.
Can't even feel them.
Can't even feel them, yeah. That's good. I've had clients say to me, Judy, I was getting my extensions done with this person and I would come out of there crying or tearing. Like, why? Like, some hairdressers or some stylists feel that causing pain is you're doing a good job. No, it's actually the opposite, girls. So try to be gentle when you're rolling. Try to take your time. Some people might just have a heavier hand, but it's not a good feeling, and you don't want your hair being handled that way, because you know you could get breakage, or God knows what they're doing back there. Unless the client moves or something, you'll like burn them by mistake, but besides that, they should not be feeling really any heat. That means there's too much heat that you actually can burn the hair, so we want to be careful with the machine. If you're a jittery person, I've had friends of mine that try not to drink coffee, like even when you take the class, because you need a steady hand. I know it sounds silly, but you can't get a good section, or it's maybe just not for you if you're like a jittery, nervous person, because it's really a very slow process, and you have to have a lot of patience to do extensions. And if you want an outcome really quick, you're not gonna get that with extensions. So maybe find your niche, or just try not to drink any caffeine or anything to jiggle, because you want to make sure you get that nice section. I've seen hairdressers where coworkers of mine, which I love, they'll press the heat, and then before you know it, they're burning another piece. I'm like, wait, how did it get there? It's like, oh, my hand's shaking. So definitely make sure that we don't want shaking hands. So you see what I just did right now? I don't know if you could see, Otto. Like, I section the hair, but it's too wide. You can see it's not fitting in the square. So what happens is I have to pull some of that out. You want it to fit in the square perfectly. So if you see any bubbling or any ridging, that means it's just not fitting in the disc. You want to make sure you have a nice, clean section. I like to sit in a stool, not the whole process, but for the back. It just gives me an eye level. Everybody's different. And you can stand up while you're doing it. I just feel like I don't get as high with my rolling. Sometimes when I'm above the client, I'll roll too high that they'll get like a little spring, which is okay. It'll come down in a couple of days, but my preference is just to be eye level.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So one question is that, you know, if I go to the gym, I obviously am sweating, and I usually kind of like sweat from my head. So is that something, like, what do you recommend for that? Is that a problem? Is it gonna
affect?
Yeah.
So Jen's question is basically, if she goes to the gym and she's doing cardio and she's sweating a lot from her head, like, is that gonna be a problem? No, most of the time it isn't a problem. I have a lot of clients that go to the gym. It's just more maintenance. So anything with wetness, I tell them to dry their hair. They're like, well, do I have to wash it? Not necessarily, especially if you have already dry, thick hair. You don't want to wash your hair. There's great dry shampoos out there. So you want to air dry that sweat out of the hair. You want to put dry shampoo in your hair. Now, if you feel like it's a hygiene thing, you want to take a shower, you're more than welcome to shower every day. Just make sure you always air dry the bonds. So that answers your question, no. Just make sure that it's completely dry when you leave the gym or when you get home.
So like air drying, I could use a blow dryer over them?
Yeah, when I mean air drying, I'm using a blow dryer, not just letting literally the air dry from your car. You literally have to grab a blow dryer and just air dry those roots. It doesn't have to be on high heat. It could be on high air, cold air, just to make sure that it's dry.
And after these are done today, how long does it take to consider them, you know, really in there?
So that's a great question. So 48 hours till you can wash your hair. The reason we tell you 48 hours, you just want to make sure that the bond is really like locked in there and really dried. It's taking its place. You're not misshifting it. So today and tomorrow she's not going to be washing it, and after that she could definitely wash it. A lot of people get keratin, so you could definitely do a keratin the same day as your extensions. I've done it. People are like, well, doesn't the extension stick to the keratin? I would think it would, but it hasn't so far with me. It's been great. So you could get a keratin and just put your extensions right over that, and it will take just as good. And it helps with the keratin. You can't wash it anyways in 24 hours. So she's getting 2 bundles plus her natural hair, and she's already probably only 15 minutes in the morning to do her hair. How much longer? I always tell people, like, think of it like every bundle is a quarter of your hair. So she's getting half more than what she has in her head. It's gonna take you half the time. So instead of 15 minutes, it's gonna take you about 30 minutes. So every bundle is like a quarter amount of what you have in your hair. All right, so this is the part where I stand up and we're done with the back. So we did the 2 rows in the back. Remember, we didn't do them too low, neither too high. I'm gonna go to her sides. If you're a person that is like me, you're clip freaking and like to put clips, just make sure that when you are traveling on the hair, you take the clips out to repuzzle. Don't leave them in there and just figure out the sides. You want to make sure you take this out and you want to figure out by eye. So I like wet brushes. They're gentle on the hair. A wet brush is a brush that a guy became a millionaire basically. It's just, the bristles are very gentle, so they are flexible. So with extensions, this is nice because it will not hurt the hair and it will be soft on the hair. And it would just take all the knottiness off the ends. So it is a detangling brush. It's good for kids, but also for extension clients.
Also, you mentioned detangling before as a product. I mean, I've only known to use conditioner. What's the difference? Is there a difference?
Yeah, that's a big difference. Conditioner gets rinsed out of your hair. A detangler stays in the hair, so it's a leave-in. And the hair will get knotty, especially with scarves, with the wind, with you just walking around. So the detangler spray, which is the leave-in, is going to protect it throughout the day and make the hair feel much better and not get tangly, as opposed to the conditioner. It's just going to help you that moment when you get out the shower and not be knotty. See what I'm saying? So you want a heat protector, a leave-in, that's going to help you throughout the day as well. And when you're styling, blow drying your hair.
And that goes on before you?
That goes on right. Yep, that goes on right after you come out of the shower. You towel dry and you're going to style. Detanglers are a must. I'm gonna go to her side section. So remember, we want to do 1 inch away from the ear and 1 inch away from the hairline.
I'm definitely insecure about the top of my head. This area too.
Yeah, you don't want it to like show. So like, you want to make sure you're low enough where the wind blows. You don't want her to feel like, oh my God, are my extensions showing, you know? Once they see that the extensions are placed the right way, their client's going to be very satisfied. I've had clients say, when you put my extensions, I don't even see them, you know? Like I know that they're there and I'll look for them. But I've had other clients say, when I go somewhere else, I'll get my extensions and they're like on the root of my head, and like the whole world is telling me, oh my God, I see your extensions, and you don't want that, you know? You want to be natural. So first I'm just going to grab the little flyaways that are on the top, push it away. Get my little square going. Push it down, make sure there's enough hair in there. Now this is just a basic tutorial You know, I'm gonna be doing more tutorials about how to customize sides. Like, you know, we can make the sides minis, micros. Her sides are good enough. We're just gonna cut them in half, and that'll be basic. Somebody has a bang, an angle they want to cover, but they don't have enough room. All the glue. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start cutting them and make them into minis and micros, and that will be in my next channel that I'll be doing soon. Same thing, leaving the hair on the side and doing every other. Make sure you have your bonds flat, not like up, like nice and flat when you're melting it. How far back do I go? I go as when my last extension was there, so it's right here. You can see it, and then that will be my last. You want to always make them meet, meaning you want the back to meet with the front. All right, so we're done with this row. People say, well, how many you put on each row? It's really depending on the size of the hair, the head, and the thickness of the hair. You know, I can't put as many on her hair as I can put with somebody with really thick hair, and I can't put as little on somebody with really thick hair. So it really just depends on the client. Hair. I always do like a half an inch, quarter of an inch in between. You want to be able to not see them fully, but see them see through your last section. You make the sections too thin, you cause breakage. You're putting too much strain on one area of the head. If you're working in a salon and you're interested in doing extensions, you know, talk to your boss. If you guys are not providing the service, suggest you to, you know, look at my channel. Not only that, but get certified. Make it into an extra service if you really have the passion for it. If you're not doing this on your own and you're doing it through a salon, most likely they will have to price it upon making the salon money, and obviously you, because you're the provider. Like, because I am the owner of my salon, I charge a different price, and my stylist will charge. Most extension companies give you like a reference and a rough draft of what you should be charging for their extensions. And depending on your clientele, you would choose to go with that, any less or any more. Just remember, your time is valuable. So sometimes you'll be like, oh, I'll only add like 50 bucks. But then you've been there for 2.5 hours and you could have made, you know, 250 bucks in those 2.5 hours. So you want to make sure that your time is worth the extensions. Most of the time, you end up paying for your classes. Now there are some salons that the owner will provide a portion or help you out with paying for the certifications and stuff like that. All right, I'm done with this side. So what I do, I like to stop in between, go to the next side and make sure I have enough hair. I don't like to jump and fill one side up more than the other, just in case. Do I try to make them even? Of course. Like, she parts her hair looks like to the left. So what we're gonna do, we're probably gonna put an extra couple of extensions to the left to make it, you know, a mount.
There it is.
So with Jen, you can look down, Jen. We have a lot of baby hair, which is normal. A lot of people have that. So you want to take that into account make sure you're not putting extensions right on them. First of all, they're fragile. Second of all, you don't want them to show. Third of all, you don't want it to be uncomfortable for her, so if she runs her fingers through, she has them right in her hairline. So same thing, we're gonna be doing 1 inch away from the ear and part this and do 1 inch away from the hairline. I don't do diagonal parting when I'm doing individual extensions unless it's a must. I'll do that when I'm doing tracks or like beaded extensions, because when the hair grows down, I don't want it when it's a diagonal part, meaning like something like this going from high to low or from low to high. The hair starts not folding correctly. It's not growing properly to the hair shaft, so it's just gonna keep bubbling up, if that makes sense, or bunching up and poking out of the head. So I'm picky about my sections. I will do them nice and flat or where the hair is growing towards. Unless, like I said, it's something like a bead where a lot of maintenance is involved. They're coming in here every couple of weeks to push them up, and there's no room for it to start flapping or anything like that. So my parts are straight down and straight across. Some hairstylists, we tend to have the extensions already pre-cut as the client comes in. Everybody's different. Unless they're having a lot of bundles done, I'll do that the night before. I like to do it in front of the client with my apprentice, looking to see exactly what we're doing and where their hair is at and getting it out of the package. So if you notice, I just went one section lower for her sideburn. That's a customized move that I just made on my part. It was not on the same section as the one before, but I felt like if I was gonna do it on the same section, it would have showed. So I went millimeter lower than my last section. Let me just show you. So that was my original section. Right. That was my original section, so I just went a little lower on that. Just because here we started interfering with her hairline. Once again, I feel like this is a little too high, so I'm going to section it off. Put the extra 2 in the bottom. Whenever I come to a point of the head where I feel like it's the round part and the edge of the head, meaning like the top of your head where it's going to show off when the wind blows or anything, I'll go a level, or I shouldn't say level, I should say part lower or section.
Recommend that instead of using the clip that they use the comb to
That's what I was just saying. They sell like a little finger tool that will section. It's like a comb on your finger. It almost is like an attachment to your nail, and you hook it onto your finger, and it looks like an actual like acrylic nail on your finger, and that will help you, because it is tedious to keep grabbing the comb to go back and forth. But yeah, I definitely suggest that. Like when I first started my sectioning, it was so meticulous because I was just so scared of like how the hair grew. Like Otto, if you could come and see this for a second, because I do this automatically without even like thinking of it. Like you see how the hair is growing towards the left? Like I grab it going towards the left. And that's something that the sectioning will show you. But after so many years of doing it, you kind of know where to place your disc. See, if you were to place it this way, you're like, why is it curving that way? It's not gonna work. So your disc and your section is gonna show you not to do that. But because I kind of been doing it, I kind of know the hair pattern. So her hair pattern is going to the left. So guess what? I'm gonna place it going to the left. So when it grows out 4 months from now, it's not gonna be annoying, and it's not gonna wanna start going the opposite way and bubbling up on her. Remember, I'm shimmying it or going up and down with the glue upward and rolling. Take the disc out, make sure there's no bubbles. And let's see where we're at. How many do we have left? 6. So that's about right. We did 2 rows, and now we have 3 for each side left. I use my wet brush. Such an inexpensive brush. You could get it at any of your local hair salons, or even a drugstore around you. Now they're selling the wet brushes. You can't use the wet brush on the root, so that's the thing. So people are like, well, can I buy that instead of, like, you can, because it's awesome on the ends. It's for matting and tangliness. But what's great about the Great Lengths brush, and I'll show you guys in a little bit, it's just you could literally go from root to end and take all that knottiness out in the matting. So with this, you don't want it to get caught on your extension, so you can only go on the bottom.
Do they make a round brush?
The Great Lengths? Mm-hmm. They make a paddle and they make a round. And meaning like a blowout brush or like an oval like this? Oh no, they just make like a brush to brush. Yeah. If you want like a blowout brush, I have the ceramic brushes. It's important, ceramic. Metal will burn your hair. I tell my clients, you don't want to burn the extensions, even though they're not your hair. You paid for it, so you don't want to sizzle them. So you want to use a nice, good round brush that's ceramic based, and we sell those as well. These are our ceramic bristle, meaning you could put a really hot blow dryer on this and it won't melt and it won't get really hot. This is a Great Lengths brush. Packaging is nice and pretty. It's an expensive brush, but it's so worth it. So we'll open it. So this brush, you can literally see the bristles. I could go from her root to her ends and it won't tangle or mat or grab any of the extensions because the way it's made. So you could go from roots to end. As opposed to my other favorite brush, which is a wet brush, I can't, it's gonna grab into the extension, so you don't want that. So you wanna focus. It feels different, right? Yeah. So it's good to have your brushes, extension brushes. All right, so now we have only 6 left. So we're gonna just make sure that I like them, look at them. I always like to involve my clients. Like, is there any area that you want to see more hair, that you want to put them in? I always like to ask before making my own decision.
Oh my God, I have so much hair. Well, one thing that bothers me about my hair is, I guess, I don't know what can be done about it, but I do have this breakage here, and I also feel like it's kind of like.
So you feel like the breakage is kind of like annoying, and you want to see if I could cover that with an extension?
Yeah, if that's possible.
That's a lot. That's a very common question, and a lot of people ask that question. What I tell my clients, I can cover it up, but we are gonna have to raise up the extensions a little higher, and they don't stay as long because we're gonna have to make them mini, and we're gonna have to cut them really little in order for it to stick on such fine hair, so they don't last the full 4 to 5 months. They'll last 2 to 3 months, and they will be higher up. So if somebody's really insecure with that, I would kind of steer away. If somebody's okay with it, I would definitely do it if it's gonna make them feel better.
My hair are still so thick.
Do you want me to try to put a couple minis or kind of just leave it?
No.
Leave it? Alrighty.
They're gonna come out.
Alrighty, so we're gonna place these. Yeah, we're gonna place them. I feel like in the back we need a little bit more. Just back here.
Whatever you say.
Because we asked for no conditioner and we don't put conditioner, the hair does get staticky. We have static wipes that work. This is another trick, like if somebody's really staticky like this, what I'll do, I'll just hold down the hair and then grab another clip. Hold it up. And use my minis. My minis are cute, like I don't normally use them, but if I'm working in a small section, just put your mini in there. Sometimes you're gonna get fish hooks and like little, just cut them away if you feel like it got involved with the glue and it's mangled in there. So right now this is called customizing. I'm kind of customizing where I feel we need the extra hair. You'll find that the client's hair sometimes is the same amount as the bond, but much thinner. As long as you're grabbing the same amount, we're good. Because our hair is much see-through and finer.
Judy, if someone needed these or wanted them for a special occasion, like let's say their wedding, do you recommend them, you know, coming in a couple of weeks before or like doing them right then?
When people come in for wedding hair, most of the time I suggest the clip-ons just because it's just for that one night. But if they're also saying, listen, I want it for my honeymoon, I want something that's I definitely suggest them if there's enough time to get one batch in before the wedding just to see how comfortable they are with it. And then if not, I'll let them know that I need to see them at least 3 weeks before the wedding. Just so the extensions settle in case we have to change any colors or anything like that. But 90% of the time, brides are getting extensions nowadays. And it's their wedding, so they don't mind spending the 3. Now I'm putting an extra one on the sides. This is not gonna cover her, what we were talking about before, her hairline where she feels that it's parting. We're not gonna do the minis up there. I like to be honest with my clients. I don't like to get their hopes up and say, oh, they're gonna last 5 months, where there's a possibility that I know they're gonna fall off in 2 to 3 months. So for her, she'd rather put these in an area in her head where they're gonna last a little longer. Now let's talk about Great Lengths hair, and I'm about to finish in a little bit. Great Lengths hair, if you notice, is textured, and it comes with a frizz to it. It's not like solid, like silky, solid straight, or pin straight, however you want to say it. It does come with a natural wave to it. People are like, well, why would you want to wave? You want to like pin straight? I'm like, no, there's a lot of people that want it to like curl up and want it to kind of frizz because it gives their hair a little texture. Or it could be somebody like me that has a lot of texture and, you know, God forbid I'm eating outside and my hair starts frizzing and the extensions are pin straight. Well, with Great Lengths, it's not going to happen. The Great Lengths are going to frizz just like my hair is going to frizz, and that's the beauty about Great Lengths. The hair does come from India, So if you notice, a lot of Indian women have like that texture on the bottom of the hair. A lot of shine. It's beautiful. It just has that texture where it replicates like real hair. Like that's what makes it look so natural, that it can look like literally real hair. Nobody would ever notice. As opposed to I have other companies that will have no texture and will be pin straight, and the hair looks great when they walk out of the salon. And I tell them, like, if you don't blow your hair pin straight every day, you know, your hair is going to be frizzy and the extensions are going to be pin straight. So that's going to be an issue. You know, if somebody had like really pin straight hair, and I wouldn't mind putting any, you know, extensions on them. Gray length might be too heavy, you know? If somebody does, like Jen gets keratin and she has a wave to her hair. She has some texture to her hair. No, if I have a girl with really extremely fine, straight hair, I might not want to put gray lengths on it because I don't want her hair to look really flat and then this bushy, crazy hair on the bottom. So you wanna use your judgment on that. On the different hair types. Gray lengths comes from many parts of India, but mostly the temples of India. And you know, what's happening now, a lot of companies are getting hair from India, but Gray Lengths has been one of their customers for many years. So what happens with these temples, Gray Lengths gets first pick. So let's say they have all these women donating their hair for religious reasons. So once their hair reaches a certain length, they donate it to their gods. And then Gray Lengths gets first pick. So let's say Susie treated her hair better than Miriam, they're gonna pick Susie's hair and they're gonna buy it for that same price and get that nice quality hair, as opposed to other companies and other vendors that come months later and then they don't get first pick because they haven't been clients of the temple for many years like Gray Lengths has. So that's why they're always, you know, getting great hair, and it's consistent. You know, it's very rare that the hair quality it's not good. I've had other companies which I love and I still use, but I have clients say, oh, this time it was a little knottier, you know, probably different head, different hair. And Gray Lengths hair is 100% human hair. A lot of hair out there nowadays, yeah, it's cheaper, but it's half synthetic, it's nylon, so it's able to get blown out and colored, but it's not like Gray Lengths hair. It's not 100% human hair. And we're done. This is our final result. So exciting. You can never tell the difference. Looks exactly the same color. That's a good thing. She can't feel them at all, she's saying. It's a really good thing. I always tell my clients, if you are tender-headed, because I'm tender-headed, I'll tell them, listen, take an Advil or something at night. Make sure you feel comfortable. Well, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for my next videos coming out with different companies. And stay tuned at Beautiful People Instagram, YouTube channels, Snapchat to see any more questions that you may have on extensions. You could always ask me.